Hello dear friends. New technologies, which are not as new as they seem, are being rehabilitated every day in order to help mankind in its development and facilitate the life of human beings. Opinion piece: Wireless Electricity in Texas by Viziv Technologies. It is based on Zenneck surface waves, requires little energy and doesn't cause interference. The technology has been in development for 40 years. It would raise the standard of living for millions of people. The plan has always been to wake up citizens. QF is operational, but cannot be published yet. The healthcare crisis is expected to suddenly disappear. Those who do not stand for their rights are not worthy of them. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who look on and do nothing. Albert Einstein. Let's start. Texas-based Viziv Technologies is working on an innovative Tesla-class wireless electricity distribution system based on Zenneck surface waves. Surface waves, or electromagnetic waves, naturally follow the contours of a surface and travel best along specific materials. Zenneck waves travel best at high frequencies with a conductor coated with a dielectrical material. These safe surfaces have a high bandwidth, require little energy, and do not cause interference. The Zenneck wave is a longitudinal, non-homogeneous or non-uniform electromagnetic plane wave incident on a plane or a spheric boundary interface between two homogeneous media having different dielectric constants. The Zenneck wave propagates parallel to the interface and decays exponentially vertically, a property known as evanescence. It exists under the condition that the permittivity of one of the materials forming the interface is negative, while the other is positive, such as the interface between air and a loosely conducting medium like a terrestrial transmission line, below the plasma frequency. It is possible to excite Zenneck-type waves at planar metal-air interfaces and transmit their energy through metallic obstacles. The project. The Baylor Research and Innovation Collaborative at Baylor University is currently hosting 6 technology companies hoping to produce wireless power delivery systems in the next few years. Texas-based Viziv Technologies is leading the way, making the technology for decades in development a reality. Its goal is to commercialize wireless electric power to deliver electricity over long distances. Once finalized, wireless power would be even more durable than current electrical systems and could withstand electromagnetic pulse attacks, solar flares, lightning strikes, and power surges. In fact, surface supply systems are so durable that any tear or break in a surface does not sever the connection or the flow of electricity. The Zenneck surface wave also cannot be interrupted by lightning, geomagnetic interference, electromagnetic pulse, or solar flare. The wireless power supply doesn't depend on a network and wouldn't be vulnerable to failure during peak power usage. The American National Standards Institute considers this radio frequency to be safe. The intensity of these power supply systems is less than 1% of the current safety standard. Viziv wants to use these surface wave technologies in efficiently deliver electrical power to hard-to-reach areas around the world. Wireless electricity would instantly raise the standard of living for millions of people. Approximately 17% of the world's population doesn't have access to electricity power. Electric power is unreliable and non-existent in certain parts of the world. The technology has the potential to instantly raise the standard of living for millions of people around the world. A century ago, Nikola Tesla experimented with surface waves. The electrical pioneer was working on a radically new type of radio. He believed he could use surface waves to transmit signals across the Atlantic. In 1908, Tesla believed that these surface waves could be emitted from a small instrument, not bigger than a watch, to transmit messages around the world. Ahead of this time, Tesla was delighted to see this wireless electrical network come to life. Power transfer. Wireless power transfer, wireless power transmission, or electromagnetic power transfer is the transmission of electrical power without wires as a physical link. In a wireless power transmission system, a transmitting device powered by electrical energy from a power source generates a time-varying electromagnetic field which transmits energy through space to a receiving device which extracts energy from the field and supplies it to an electrical system. Wireless power transmission technology can eliminate the use of wires and batteries, thus increasing the mobility, convenience, and safety of an electronic device for all users. Wireless power transfer is useful for powering electrical devices where interconnecting wires are inconvenient, dangerous, or not possible. Power transfer. Wireless power techniques are mainly divided into two categories, near field and far field. In near field or non-radiate techniques, power is transferred over short distances by magnetic fields using inductive coupling between coils of wire, or by electric fields using capacitive coupling between metal electrodes. Inductive coupling is the most widely used wireless technology. Its applications include charging portable devices such as telephones and electronic toothbrushes, labels, induction cooking, and wireless charging on continuous wireless power transfer, and in implantable medical devices such as artificial cardiac pacemakers or electrical vehicles. In far field or irradiative techniques, also called power transmission, energy is transferred by electromagnetic radiation beams such as microwaves or lasers. These techniques can transport energy over longer distances, but must be directed at the receiver. Proposed applications of this type are solar-powered satellites and wireless-powered drones. A major problem associated with all wireless power systems is limiting the exposure of people and other living things to potentially harmful electromagnetic fields. Tesla's experiment. After 1890, inventor Nikola Tesla experimented with power transmission by inductive and capacitive coupling using spark excited radio frequency resonant transformers, now called Tesla coils, which generated high alternate current voltages. At first, he tried to develop a wireless lighting system based on near-field inductive and capacitive coupling and conducted a series of public demonstrations in which he lit Geissler tubes and even incandescent bulbs from the other side. He discovered that he could increase the distance at which he could light a lamp by using a receiver circuit tuned in resonance with the transmitter circuit using resonant inductive coupling. Tesla failed to make a commercial product from his findings, but this method of resonant inductive coupling is now widely used in electronics and is currently being applied to short-range wireless power systems. Tesla went on to develop a wireless power distribution system that he hoped would be capable of transmitting power over long distances directly to homes and factories. At first, he seemed to borrow ideas from Malone Loomis, proposing a system composed of balloons in the air to suspend the transmission and reception of electrodes above 9,100 meters altitude, where he thought the pressure would be reduced and allow him to send high voltages of millions of volts over long distances. To further study the conductive nature of air at low pressure, he established a high-altitude test facility at Colorado Springs during 1899. Experiments he conducted there with a large coil operating in the megavolt range, as well as observations he made of the electronic noise of lighting, led him to conclude that he could use the entire globe of the Earth to conduct electrical energy. The theory involved conducting pulses of alternating current into the Earth and its resonant frequency from a grounded Tesla coil working against a high capacitance to oscillate the Earth's potential. Tesla thought that this would allow alternating current to be received with a similar capacitive antenna tuned and resonant to it at any point on the Earth with very little loss of energy. His observations also led him to believe that a high voltage used in a coil at an altitude of a few hundred feet would break up the air stratum, eliminating the need for miles of wire hanging from balloons to create his atmospheric return circuit. Tesla would go on the next year to propose a world wireless system that would transmit both information and power around the world. In 1901, in Shoreman, New York, he attempted to build a large high-voltage wireless power plant, now called Wardenclyffe Tower, but in 1904 the investment dried up and the facility was never completed. Intelligence Alert. Operation Disclosure Intelligence Alert. First one. The quantum financial system is operational but cannot be officially implemented until the quagmire is cleared and the Gisara plan is completed. Second, the plan has always been to awaken the people, hence the phrase, the Great Awakening. Third, the current course of action is to expose the crisis. Fourth, persecutions for human rights abuses are expected. Fifth, there is an expectation that the problem will end and suddenly disappear. Sixth, the quagmire is planning to extend the crisis or create a new one to promote its agenda. Seventh, this will not happen according to sources, and a worldwide cure will be spread. Eighth, the fallacies of the administration and the media will be exposed. Don Carlos de Marbella said on Wednesday that everything is ready to go. The quantum computer is running, just waiting for the QFS to be turned on, and that will be in God's time. In this view, we are very close to the divine reset, to the divine reset, and the start of the QFS. It's all being done from a human point of view. The codes are in. The system is ready to be turned on. These are unprecedented times when many of us are looking at some extremely difficult situation happening around us that are impacting our lives and the people we love of and care of. The setting in motion of a collective level is knowing that the lighting will come at some point and that it will bring a great awakening, seeing beyond the falsity of the deceptions when the truth is finally made known. Some people will be strong enough to wake up and be willing to see the truth, while others will not be able to cope with the truth. Common law. Every human being is covered by the fundamental customary law called common law. Do not kill, do not steal, do not coerce. If the human being violates that, he falls under the criminal law. The criminal law only becomes applicable when someone reports it. Customary law, also called usage of customs, is a source of law. The origin of a custom is simply society. Ancient society governed their conduct throughout custom and tradition. They are legal rules that are not written but are compiled with because over time it has become customary to comply with them. That is, use has been made of that custom that arises from events that have occurred repeatedly over time in a particular territory. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but by those who look on and do nothing. Albert Einstein. People who do not stand up for their rights are not worthy for their rights. To become a free human being is necessary to take back everything he has surrendered from his hands to assume his own responsibility. Saint Patrick. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Many do not know that this holiday actually celebrates the destruction of the ancient Druid people of Ireland, who were the original builders of Stonehenge. The Druids celebrated the stars and the forgotten wisdom of ancient customs, which is why St. Patrick called them snakes. The term serpent originally meant very wise and knowledgeable. In fact, in Hindu symbology, the snake is synonymous with cunning and wisdom. Saint Patrick was the Catholic priest who supposedly drove the snakes out of Ireland. The serpent is an ancient symbol of wisdom. It was the symbol of the highest of the Druid priests. After the Catholics copied all the Druid feasts and wisdom and passed them into their practices and Bibles, they tried to destroy the evidence, committing mass genocide against the Druids. But not all Druids were good, because they made human sacrifices. Short news. Facebook shows off mind-reading technology it hopes to one day use with smart glasses. Excuse me. Facebook has unveiled its mind-reading wrist-worn device and an augmented reality keyboard that would allow users to replace the mouse and keyboard in future hardware products. Google will invest more in the US. Google Corporation plans to invest more than $7 billion in the US and create at least 10,000 permanent jobs in the company this year, informed the president of Google and its parent company, Alphabet, Sundar Pichai. Mark Mobius revealed his concern about Bitcoin. In the last 12 months, the value of Bitcoin increased more than 900%, attracting technological giants such as Tesla, who choose to invest their resources in the cryptocurrency. That is why the possible collapse of its value, a scenario that cannot be ruled out, and that threatens to affect the price of its shares, wants investor Mark Mobius. Politics. US-China diplomatic standoff. Talks between China and the US in Alaska got off to a rocky start on March 18, when top diplomats from both countries exchanged harsh criticism on each other's policies in front of reporters. Intelligence officials believe China interfered in election. A report from the intelligence community indicates that a minority of intelligence officials believed that the Chinese Communist Party did in fact attempt to obstruct former president's chances in the 2020 election. Biden stumbled several times and falls to his knees while climbing the stairs of the presidential plane. The president stumbled several times and then fell on his knees while climbing the steps of the Air Force One. The 78-year-old president was on his way to Atlanta to meet with leaders of Asian community after several shootings at massage parlors in Atlanta this week left 8 people dead. Craziness. Organized crime controls 35% of Mexico's territory. The head of the U.S. North Command, General Glenn Van Herk, said that between 30% and 35% of Mexican territory is controlled by criminal organizations which are behind the increase of the number of migrants to the U.S.-Mexico border. Europe. Paris and a third France faced their third lockdown in a year. Paris and a third of France are preparing Friday for their third lockdown in a year, which will begin at the weekend, last at least a month, and although it will limit movement, it will be lighter than those of March and November. 16 departments of the country, home to 21 million of its nearly 70 million citizens, will face restrictions. The French Senate approves the controversial bill. The French Senate approved it in first reading the Global Security Bill, which provoked months ago strong criticism and massive protests throughout the country. With 238 votes in favor, the center and right-wing legislators supported the text, while the left-wing described the law as a violation of public liberties. The bill, among other things, aims to restrict the right to film police officers in action. A woman sues French state after being convicted for not sleeping with her husband. A woman convicted by French judiciary in 2019 for not sleeping with her husband has sued the French state before the European Court of Human Rights to ask for a change in the interpretation of the judges. Barbara, 66 years old and with 4 children, was found guilty in a civil court of divorce with her husband, as decided by 3 judges of a Versailles Court of Appeal. Do you remember the concept of conjugal debit in Franco's time? Of course, the freedom of women and all human beings must be respected. The Hyperloop will connect Barcelona to Paris in minutes. The Hyperloop could be the next means of transport to revolutionize the way that we move. It is a supersonic train with 0 emissions, fully electric, and can travel at 1,000 kilometers per hour. The realistic model of the Hyperloop would allow to transport both passengers and goods by means of trains through vacuum tubes. The arrival of French tourists in Madrid continues, who also take advantage of this St. Joseph's Day long weekend to enjoy more lax restrictions than those suffered by the citizens of France, where this noon comes into force a total confinement but milder than the one experienced a year ago. Madrid opens city to European tourists. While Europe maintains the measures of distancing and new confinements are imposed, Madrid remains open. Bar, restaurants and terraces are full. The Spanish capital's more permissive rules are attracting hundreds of tourists. They come to catch some ray of sunshine and to take a break from pandemic fatigue, as this French tourist underlines. In quotes, "We plan to go to a restaurant, have a few beers in a bar, and take advantage and recover the life of before." A good desire. Yemen abuse scandal. After 5 months of investigation, hundreds of alleged abuses and their victims have been identified in an 800-page independent report on decades of abuse in the Catholic Archdiocese of Cologne, Germany. Age discrimination is widespread around the world. Prejudice and discrimination based on age are pervasive around the world, affecting millions of young or elderly people trying to work and receive health care, denying them their human rights and costing society billions of dollars, a UN report said Thursday. World Sleep Day. As every year on World Sleep Day, March 19, experts lavish their advice on how to sleep better and remind us that sleep is one of the pillars of health, and that lack of sleep causes all kinds of diseases and dysfunctions of the organism. The slogan of the day is "Regular Sleep for a Healthy Future." A recent study reminds us that poor sleep damages the immune system and therefore makes us more vulnerable. Russia is gradually reducing its dependence of the US dollar by increasing the use of national currencies in trade with other countries, said the Speaker of the lower house of the Russian parliament, Vyacheslav Volodin. Russian invisibility cloak for S-400. Air and radiological, chemical and biological defense units in Kamchatka Peninsula used the novel TDA-3 smoke machines to hide an entire field of the S-400 anti-aircraft missile division with a fixed aerosol cutting. Science and technology. Scientists discover a strange movement pattern repeated by sharks, penguins and turtles. An international team of scientists has discovered that a wide variety of marine animals, including sharks, penguins and green turtles, repeat for unknown reasons a very similar movement pattern of swimming in cycles. NASA fires new rocket engine to lift Mars spacecraft in 8-minute burn test. The US Space Agency NASA conducted a historic test Thursday when it fired the 4 powerful engines that will soon send its space launch system into orbit in a realistic 8 minutes. Navy solar satellite may pave way for solar farms in space. Navy researchers are testing a space solar panel in an attempt to install a solar farm in orbit around Earth. Known as the photovoltaic radio frequency antenna module, the solar panel is no bigger than a pizza box, but can be scaled up to generate a large amount of power. Largest asteroid. A giant asteroid, the largest space object to come close to our planet this year, is expected to pass Earth on March 21st. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory has reported. Oumuamua comes from another solar system. A new study may have solved the mystery of Oumuamua. The elongated stellar object detected in 2017 comes from a Pluto-like planet, but from another solar system. So say the astronomers on the research published last March 16 by Advancing Earth and Space Science. In quotes, we suggest that Oumuamua blasted off from a young star system about 500 million years ago. They write. And that's all for today. Thank a lot, dear friends. I hope you be happy.